Will Ford, Aaron Sprague for the regional final in Division 4, Region 15, the number 1 seed Steubenville Big Red and the number 2 Sheridan Generals. And Aaron, we're really encapsulating Stadium Drive in this edition of the show tonight because we're in our car. We've got some rain coming in, so we're actually in the car tonight.
Right.
So it's a pretty unique setup, and actually, I think it looks pretty good.
Right. I mean, we're going to go in for the game, but we really didn't want to play with fire and rain in this case, and be on the field and get caught in the rain. So it's like, let's think ahead a little bit. So you know what? We're just going to do it right in the car. We are here at the parking lot at Woody Hayes Quaker Stadium.
Yeah.
But Will's right. We want to encapsulate Stadium Drive. We hope you're watching on the way to the game or as you get ready to watch the game online somewhere. Definitely nice to be here. It feels right. A big stage for a big game, a big part of the season, and a regional title on the line. But we do thank you for watching all season long. Will's done a great job, and we're sad it's coming to an end, but we still have some good games left. And be sure to remember, too, as you see this or watch this, we are going to be at the game. Obviously, we're here at the game, but Will's going to be capturing highlights and tweeting out highlights and scores as they happen. So if you can't be at the game or aren't able to watch it somewhere, check out our Twitter page, and you should be able to see a lot of the highlights and a lot of the updates as they happen. Not live, but we'll record them and post them as quick as possible. So, but super pumped for this matchup. 1 versus 2 and 2 storied programs.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Stubenville, just over the last 30 years, they've been wildly successful. Coach Reno Sakoch has just been he's probably the greatest high school football coach in the state of Ohio.
No, he's a legend.
A legend for sure. 4 state championships, 5 state runner-ups, and a chance to go to another Final Four here in this game tonight. And for Sheridan, they're 12-1 this year. They're 1 loss to Tri-Valley. They've had a great year. They kind of end of the regular season, first round of the playoffs, kind of struggled a little bit defensively, but then really righted the ship against Gallia Academy in round 2. Now their defense is forcing turnovers and looking as good as it was, middle of the regular season, and the offense really hasn't wavered at all. They've been putting up points in bunches. Caden Sheridan has 5 rushing touchdowns through the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, and I mean, he's just playing really well right now. I
mean, yeah, Sheridan's win last week is one of the biggest in school history. Anytime you can beat Bishop Hartley, it's huge, especially with Hartley, I believe, had the toughest strength of schedule in the division coming in to the playoffs, which is what I saw. And it was only the second time in school history Sheridan has equaled 12 wins. That was a huge win, big monumental victory for the Generals. And when you're talking about Steubenville, though, one, I don't think I'd want to face anyone else. It's just going to make the story that much sweeter if they're able to get by.
Indeed.
Going through a program like Steubenville. Steubenville is Ohio high school football. You talk about the Maslins and the Canton McKinleys. Steubenville is in that conversation, if not the forefront of the conversation. They live and breathe football down there in the Ohio Valley. Ohio Valley tough is a thing.
Yeah.
People talk about Ohio Valley tough. It's a different way of life down there. And Coach Sakoch has had unbelievable success going into the National High School Football Coaches Hall of Fame this year.
Yes.
One of the best coaches in the country, bar none. I mean, they call Harding Stadium in Steubenville Death Valley for a reason.
Yeah.
It's where teams go to die. They have had a lot of success, so this is going to be a fantastic matchup with these 2 storied programs, and we will see what happens. I mean, I don't make predictions,
but it's one of those games where it feels like a coin flip, though.
It does feel like a coin flip. I think if I was Sheridan, I would certainly try to embrace the underdog role because I think they probably are. I mean, just from a seeding standpoint alone, they are the underdog.
And maybe from a history standpoint as well.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Sheridan has a storied program, but they have not won a state title, and Steubenville has won 4.
Yeah.
And Steubenville has been to the playoffs millions of times, been in the title game a lot of times, won a lot of regional championships,
Yeah.
so they have certainly been there and done that. In fact, fun fact, Will, I was calling the game on the radio the last time Sheridan played Steubenville.
Really?
In 2004. So I was just fresh out of college, so I'm not that old. But it was long enough to where I was like, I'm pretty sure I called that game. I remember it being, I'm pretty sure it was at Dover. We were in the visiting press box. It was either Dover or Philly, and I was in the visiting press box. It was really small, and that was a huge upset with that Sheridan team knocking off the number 1 Big Red.
Yeah.
So that was a really cool experience long ago, and that was the last time these teams played, 2004.
Yeah, well, and for Steubenville, 23 straight playoff appearances. So that just speaks to the level of success that they've had over the years. It's truly remarkable. And I think in this game, though, really what makes them go, I mean, they're pretty balanced offensively and offensively running and passing the football, but they have two really big wide receivers. And so Isaac Hill stands at 6'4", 212. He had a $184 receiving and 2 touchdowns last week. And then Sabron Felton is 6'2", 190, and he also had 2 touchdowns last week. So I think Sheridan's going to have their hands full defensively, covering receivers as big as they are. Because, I mean, in the MVL, MVL, LCL, around this area, you don't see wide receivers that big, that strong, that fast, that physical, that explosive. So I think it's going to be an interesting matchup, and we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, it's a whole new beast. It's a whole new beast of a game, but this is why you play. You know it's not going to be easy. It's going to be tough. And we got some fans outside of our live broadcast. They noticed that we were going live. We are live. We are live here at Quaker Stadium. We were just outside because it is raining, and we have a tent. Didn't want to haul a tent, so you know what? Let's just roll this way. And again, make sure you check us out on Twitter. You'll be able to see highlights and stuff as they happen. But Will, we have so we have 4 teams that Storied Rivals cover still in the playoffs, playing in regional finals tonight. Another one of those games, and a coach you talked to, Justin Buttermore in Upper Arlington. They upset the top seed Gahanna Lincoln Lions last week, and now they get another unbelievable team in Hilliard Bradley, the Jags. You talked to Coach Buttermore, and they're going to try to dial it up on defense one more time to try to get to the Final Four.
6 straight defensive masterpieces. They did not allow Gahanna to score a single offensive point. Their lone touchdown came on a scoop and score fumble recovery. So, I mean, to hold a team that scored 38 points per game all season to 0 points offensively, their only chance at points was a missed field goal. Truly just a masterclass from Justin Buttermore. So we talked to him here on Stadium Drive. We also want to thank our sponsors, Max Effort Muscle. We don't have the product. Since we're sitting in the front of the car, we got the muscles to show you.
Well, I should have got the product out. I mean,
that's all right.
We can't remember everything. But, yeah, MaxEffortMuscle.com. They're running a crazy Black Friday deal right now.
They really are. You got to go check it out.
So MaxEffortMuscle.com, you buy a XL stack, which is 4 products, and you get a stack for free, which is 3 free products. So protein, creatine, pre-workout, amino recovery. So MaxEffortMuscle.com. If you have someone into fitness or getting in shape or whatever it is in your family, could be a great Christmas gift. If you buy it right now, MaxEffortMuscle.com.
Yes, but let's talk to head coach Justin Buttermore of the Upper Arlington Golden Bears, the number 4 seed taking on the number 2 seed Hilliard Bradley Jaguars in Division I Region 3, their regional final here on Stadium Drive, Week 14, live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks so much for being here.
All right, we're here with head coach Justin Buttermore of the Upper Arlington Golden Bears going into the regional final of the Division I playoffs. And, Coach, really appreciate your time. I want to start with that 12-7 win against Gahanna Lincoln, the number 1 seed in the regional semifinal last week. You win 12-7. You don't score an offensive touchdown. You kick 4 field goals. And the 7 points that Gahanna scored was off of a fumble recovery, a scoop and score touchdown. So you shut out arguably the best offense in Division I all season long. They don't score a touchdown. They only have 1 chance at points. They miss a field goal. I just want to know how you did it, man, because I mean, obviously it's a team effort, but like, all 11 guys, they just didn't miss an assignment really all night. There was 1 big play in the first half where Jalen Scott caught a 50-yard bomb downfield, but then you stood up from there. You didn't allow any points. Everyone did their job all night long, didn't give up big plays. How did you do it, man? What's the secret sauce?
Well, I think the kids just played really hard. I know that's a simple explanation, but like I said, we have some bright kids that understand their responsibility and understand where they're supposed to fit and where they're supposed to be, and they've just been really disciplined. And, we were in the right spot most of the night. And I think that's what allowed us to prevent big plays. And 1 big play we did give up. Like you said, we did a great job of being mentally tough and not kind of putting our heads down and worrying about it. We just played hard, and they had a couple penalties. We pushed them back a little bit, and it ended up in a missed field goal. So, it's just an outstanding effort, just from an absolute discipline standpoint, and just guys playing together. So it was a like I've said all year, it's not any one guy, it's just a group of guys kind of really playing together well.
What was the key to stopping Dior? Because he OCC Ohio Player of the Year, but you held him to 37 yards rushing, which, I mean, you when we talked last week, you said, I don't know if we're going to be able to stop him, but we'll just have to try to limit him. But you pretty much did stop him. I mean, he really had no chunk plays. He didn't get in space very often. And when he did get in space, I mean, you had guys rally into the football. I mean, what was the secret to stopping him? Because you did the best shot about every other team this year as far as just limiting his production to essentially zero.
Yeah, well, I mean, we tried to give some different looks. I mean, we looked the same pre-snap, but we tried to obviously get some different looks and get some extra guys in the box from different spots. But at the end of the day, our defensive line just played incredibly well. Our defensive line, I don't want to say dominated, but they handled themselves very, very well. Gahanna's a terrific offensive line on film. You can see against everybody that they're well coached and they have some really good players. And I thought our defensive line just played lights out. And to be able to stand up with a 3-man front, and obviously we have some linebackers that are coming from the second level, but our 3 down guys played exceptional, and everybody that rotated in at those spots played exceptional. And the seams that were there were smaller seams and allowed our linebackers to kind of fit, where they were supposed to fit because we handled ourselves up front.
Now, how did you stay composed after that fumble in the second half? That you force a turnover, you get an interception, and now you're set up like inside the 10-yard line. And then Connor McClellan has that fumble on the pitch, and it was scooped up by Jalen Scott. He returns it like 90-something odd yards for a touchdown. How did your team stay composed after that? Because a lot of teams, it can kind of just snowball, and Gahanna could just take all the momentum, and they could get another score on you, and next thing you know, it's 14-9 instead of potentially being up 16-0 or whatever it could have been. How did your team stay composed in that moment? Because obviously that was a huge play in the game, and that was the first taste of momentum that Gahanna really had all night.
Yeah, I mean, it's a credit to the kids. I mean, honestly, they were probably better composed than I was. I was pretty angry at the situation. We were dominating the game, and I thought if we got a score there, that it could shut the door, especially if we got a touchdown there. The way we're playing,
sure.
I thought it really could shut the door. And so I was pretty angry. I wasn't real happy about it. And then we came out and had a bad punt that was like 12 yards. So not only did we give up the stupid score, but then we gave them a 50-yard field. And you could feel the momentum really, really swing. But again, I think it's just a testament to the toughness of our kids. Our kids are really mentally tough. We talk all the time about dealing with adversity and how you handle it, and you play the next play and find a way to get off the field on defense. And so I thought the kids did a great job of battling through that. And like I said, even when the momentum swung, man, we reached out and grabbed the momentum back, and we're able to close out the game.
Now, this regional final matchup with Hilliard-Bradley, they only have one loss on the year, and your game with them in week 6, really close, 24-22. And honestly, you had some chances to win that game, just some turnovers and momentum swings and everything. You could have won that football game. Obviously, things are a little bit different now, middle of the season, compared to now. But what does the film say about what Hilliard-Bradley does differently, maybe compared to week 6, that you can maybe take advantage of and hopefully, get to another Final Four?
I mean, they're really very much the same as they were. They've just gotten better. You can see that their defense has been tremendous.
Yeah.
When we played them the first time, but I think their defense is playing at an entirely different level this time around. I mean, for them to do what they did to Pick North, having played Pick North and knowing how good that team is and how talented they are, their front seven dominated, and they've just been, outstanding on the defensive side of the ball. But like I said, I think they've gotten better. And on offense, honestly, they're pretty similar. They still, like to throw the ball a lot. They mix in some run, to be honest. And they really get it to their athletes in space. The quarterback is still a dynamic player. He's making really good plays and really good decisions. He uses his feet a lot. But he's really, I think, as they move through the season, he's making really good decisions about throwing the ball away. And, he just doesn't take many risks. He doesn't turn the ball over. And so they're a similar version, but you can tell they've gotten better.
Sure, yeah, as all teams do at this point in the playoffs, for sure. Do you think, given how great both of your defenses have been the last handful of weeks and through this playoff run, does this game have to be another low-scoring affair, do you think? Or because obviously it's going to be it's hard to beat a team the second time around, and so I think the matchup will be a little bit different. And both teams are obviously better than they were in week 6. But do you think this has to be a game where you keep it low-scoring, or can it be a 27-24 game similar to like what it was in week 6?
I mean, I think our best chance is if it's low scoring. I mean, you never know. Games play out differently sometimes based on turnovers and things like that, special teams yardage. But I think, for us to win, it's going to have to be low scoring again. I mean, that's kind of the way we play right now. And for us to move on, I think it's going to have to be similar to the last few weeks.
Well, Coach, we're really looking forward to watching the game and go get to another Final Four, man. This is it's been great talking to you the last couple of weeks, but best of luck against Hilliard Bradley. Keep moving on, man, and I really appreciate you joining our show as always.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
So let's take a look at the Division I playoff bracket. 8 teams left. It is the Elite Eight. And you see Upper Arlington down there at the bottom left corner of your screen taking on Hilliard Bradley, the number 2 seed in Region 3. In Region 1, up above, Lakewood St. Edward, the 1 seed, taking on the number 6 seed, Medina. And then one of the other teams that we cover, one of 4 teams left that we cover we're 4 storied rivals, number 6 Dublin Kaufman. They are taking on the number 12 seed Springfield. And Dublin Kaufman has had a really, really good playoff run in round 1 against Kettering Fairmont. They won 14-7, low-scoring game. Another low-scoring game in round 2 against Olentangy Liberty. But Olentangy Liberty was playing better than their seed, and they really had a magical run. They had a comeback effort in this game against Kaufman, but Kaufman was able to close the deal. They won 17-14. And then in round 3 against the 2 seed Olentangy Berlin, 24-7 victory. So the Shamrocks looking to keep things going against Springfield. Springfield has managed to pull off a couple upsets, but they're a very talented team. They have been for a while, and that should be a good one in Region 2. And then in Region 4, Westerchester, Lakota West, and Cincinnati Archbishop Muller. So got some good matchups. The Elite Eight and Region 1 and Region 3 will play each other in the Final Four, as well as Region 2 and Region 4. But Upper Arlington and Dublin Kaufman representing storied rivals in the Elite Eight with an opportunity to move on to the Final Four here tonight. So great stuff. But we want to talk to we talked to another coach that is still making a deep playoff run in Garaway. The Pirates head coach Jason Wallock joined our show. Talked to him last night, and I'll tell you what, Garaway, man, 3 straight undefeated regular seasons, and their regular season success has been nothing short of remarkable. But I think what's been more impressive is that through their playoff run, their 3 playoff wins, all running clock victories, all wins by 35 or more points. I mean, they're ending these games by halftime. I mean, and then they get to get some backups out there in the second half, preserve some health, and I think that's really key to kind of like just the ability to kind of just race through the playoffs is unlike anything I've ever seen before. And now they're taking on a number 2 seed in West Jefferson, really prolific through the air. They've got a great quarterback wide receiver tandem, and so we talked to head coach Jason Wallock here on Stadium Drive. He talks about his team's ability to kind of just race through the playoffs like they have the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, being so balanced and playing so well in all 3 phases of the game, offense, defense, special teams. In my opinion, and maybe it's not an opinion, maybe it's fact, their best defensive player, Jackson Reifenschneider, has been phenomenal for them defensively, always getting in the backfield. We talk about him, his production defensively, and his really incredible story. And then prep for this West Jefferson offense that is really good, that wide receiver quarterback tandem. And it's going to be the toughest game of the season so far for the Pirates. So here's head coach Jason Wallock of Garaway, undefeated, 13-0, chance to go to the Final Four and keep moving on here on Stadium Drive, Week 14, live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. All right, we're here with head coach Jason Wallock of the Garaway Pirates ahead of the regional final in the Division 6 playoffs for Ohio high school football. And coach, really appreciate your time joining our show. And I want to start with it's obviously very impressive that you're undefeated. Your regular season success over the last couple of years has been nothing short of phenomenal. But I think it might be even more impressive that in the 3 playoff games that you've played this season, they've been running clock victories. And once you get to the playoffs, or maybe for the upper seeds, once you get to round 2 of the playoffs, I mean, you're playing the best teams. So to win via running clock. It's very impressive in a playoff game. How has your team been able to do that over these 3 weeks during the playoffs? I mean, clearly you're super talented on both ends of the ball, been dominant all year. I mean, but what's been the secret sauce, I guess? Clearly it's probably coaching, right?
Yeah, it's 100% coaching, Will. Yeah, I mean we don't have any players at Garaway that are very good, and it's all we've taken each week just the same as we have since week one. We're preparing for a nameless, faceless opponent. Our kids have done a tremendous job of focusing on themselves and working each week to get better themselves. And then they have really studied the game, have done a great job of learning their scouting reports and going out and executing. So it's a very special group for us. Like you said, we've been pretty successful the last I don't know 8 or 10 years probably, but really in the last 5 years. Um, our defense has really come a long way as well, and worked hand in hand with our offense, I guess, so to speak. So, just very proud of our kids, the work ethic that they've had in the off season, the time and commitment that they've made, to learn their opponents and to come with a business like attitude every week and to get better.
Yeah, your 3 playoff wins this year, 40 plus points scored, running clock victories, 45-7 against Rock Hill, 49-7 against East Knox, and then 42-7 against Northmore. And I feel like the fire starter for your defense is Jackson Reifenschneider, I feel like even if he doesn't get a sack in a game, he's always getting to the quarterback. He's always applying pressure. Last week, an interception return for a touchdown, which I think really sparked your team in that game against Northmore. I mean, what has he meant to your defense this year? Because it just seems like he is constantly moving around and he is always applying pressure, and he's just been so rock solid for your defense. And I feel like everything starts with him.
It really has up front. Jackson's quite the story. He was diagnosed with an incurable illness when I believe in third grade, and has put his body through a lot of different types of treatment, so to speak. And just to have the ability to come back and play his senior year. He missed the last 2 years. The doctors told him that he would probably never play football again, and he's worked his tail off to get to the point where he's at. And great kid, great family. But he's been a huge spark plug for us this year. He really got the Northmore game going there on their second drive when he had the pick six, and he's wreaked a lot of havoc since week one. I think he really surprised Bel Air way back in week one when we played back in August, and it was kind of his coming out game, and teams learned real quick who number 8 was, because he's a tremendous athlete, especially for his size, 6'3", 240, and moves really well, and just can't imagine what it would have been like if he'd been able to play the last 2 years and really perfect his skills the last 2 years, as a sophomore and junior. So we're very blessed to have him. He's very blessed just to have the opportunity to be on the field, and he has definitely taken advantage of every opportunity he's gotten.
It's truly an incredible story. Now, this West Jefferson game that you've got on the schedule this Friday against the number 2 seed, I feel like their passing game is what really makes them go, and they were remarkably efficient last week in their win. Austin Bushner, their quarterback, 20 of 25, 333 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then their receiver, Mason Book, 7 receptions, 221 in the yardage column, and he caught all 3 of those touchdowns. So he was explosive, to say the least. He had a 70-yard touchdown in their win last week. What when you've been looking at the film, what do you have to do to try to line up against what they do, especially through the air?
I fortunately had the pleasure of coaching in the North-South All-Star game with Coach Bisher 2 years ago. And just ironically, in that game, we had 2 players from West Jefferson. Well, I think we had 4 total, but 2 players that really stood out to me from West Jefferson. That was Tyler Bisher, who was Coach Bisher's oldest son and their quarterback, and a wide receiver by the name of MJ Books. I believe I know Austin is definitely Tyler's brother, and I'm pretty sure Mason is MJ's brother. So it definitely runs in the bloodlines with those guys. They're a great storied history of a football program. They've been very successful. They've got a couple state championships under their belts. They were in the Final Four in 2021. So, it's a very rich tradition. They do a great job. Austin is a great quarterback. Like you said, Mason is just a phenomenal receiver. But the scary part is he's got weapons all around him, and a nice line up front that's got a lot of experience. Or a senior laden offensive line that has done a great job of protecting him. So we'll definitely have our work cut out for us, and our strength pretty much all year. Defensively has been our front seven. Being able to get pressure last week with just our front three was a huge key for us. I don't think we'll be able to get the type of pressure that we did last week with our front three. So we're going to have to be a little more creative and hopefully make Austin a little uncomfortable back there in the pocket because he definitely wants to sit in the pocket and sling it around. And, we've coached teams that way, pocket quarterbacks, and, would sling it around to four and five different receivers. And it's kind of a mirror image of what we used to do. They really want to throw the ball around. They do a heck of a nice job of it and are a very, very well-coached football team.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate your time joining our show this evening. It's great to talk to you again. Best of luck against West Jefferson and get to the Final Four, man. That's they say that's when football truly starts, is if you can get into the big dance, state Final Four. So keep moving on, man. Keep dominating these teams like you have been just all season long and all playoffs long. But I really appreciate your time joining our show, and thanks so much.
Hey, thanks a lot. Well, thanks for having me. And go Pirates.
So here's the Division 6 playoff bracket. So Garaway is taking on West Jefferson in Region 23, bottom left corner of your screen, and they'll take on the winner of Region 21, that regional final between number 1 Kirtland and number 3 Mogador. And then on the right side of your screen, Region 22 and Region 24 will do battle in the Final Four. In Region 22, that final is between number 1 Columbus Grove and number 2 Bluffton. And then number 2 Versailles and number 8 Anna in Region 24. So those regional finals are taking place tonight, and the Final Four will be set for next week after this evening. So Garaway, so dominant through 13 weeks. They're 13-0 and looking to move to 14-0. And man, they've just been so good all year, and can't wait to see what they do against West Jefferson. But let's get ready for this game that we've got going on here at Woody Hayes Quaker Stadium. Still in the car. It's raining out here in New Philly. I think this is a pretty creative idea that Aaron came up with, doing it from inside the car. Hopefully it's enjoyable for you to watch a little bit. But the people are pouring in. The rain is not deterring people from showing up to this game. There's people, they're walking by my car left and right, getting ready to go to this football game. Number 1 Stubenville, number 2 Sheridan. This is going to be a fantastic game. I mean, Stubenville obviously has tons of rich history. 4 state championships, 5 state runner-ups under Coach Reno, and he's been wildly successful. And I mean, just to take a look at the resume for Coach Reno and for Steubenville under his tenure. Let's take a look at his resume. 423 wins, which is the most all-time in Ohio high school football. 23 straight playoff appearances, 4 state titles, and 5 state runner-ups, like I just mentioned a minute ago. An OHSAA Hall of Famer. And then Aaron talked about at the top of our show, going to be inducted in June of 2024 to the National High School Football Hall of Fame. So not only is he probably the greatest high school football coach in the state of Ohio, but he's one of the great ones across the country ever. And another opportunity tonight to go to another state Final Four. They have been really good this year, 12-1, and historically have been really good. And I think I think this is the building block for their team. This is really their strength, and it's what Sheridan's going to have to line up against tonight. It's their big wide receivers, their big targets. They call them the Steubenville Big Red. Well, these are the Big Red targets. Number 9, Sabron Felton. He's 6'2", 190, and he had 90 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns in their regional semifinal win last week. And Isaac Hill, 6'4", 212, 7 receptions, $184, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, Sheridan's going to have to line up against that, and that's going to be a pretty tough challenge, to say the least. So head coach Paul Culver III talked about that when I talked to him earlier this week. Defending these big wide receivers that Stubenville has, it's going to be a unique challenge that he has yet to face this season, because you don't see wide receivers as big as that in the MVL, LCL, just really in this area when it comes to high school football. But we also talked about that emotional roller coaster win against Bishop Hartley last week, the number 3 seed. That came down to the wire, final couple plays. Bishop Hartley seemed like they were going to tie the game late, but a defender for Sheridan knocked the ball free at the goal line. And then next play, they get an interception, steal the deal. Tons of drama leading up to that. So Coach Culver talks about the drama of their regional semifinal win against Bishop Hartley, and then prepping for and trying to defend these big wide receivers that Steubenville has in their offensive arsenal, and the impressive play of his quarterback, Caden Sheridan, 5 rushing touchdowns during this playoff run. Their option offense is humming, and it's humming real good. So this is set up to be an excellent regional final matchup in Division 4, Region 15. But here is head coach Paul Culver III of the Sheridan Generals on Stadium Drive, Week 14, the regional finals, Division 4 play. All right, we're here with head coach Paul Culver III of the Sheridan Generals going into the regional final round of the OHSAA playoffs, Division 4, and super excited going up against Steubenville, the big red number 1 seed, and coming off a 34-27 win against Bishop Hartley in the regional semifinals. Coach, really appreciate your time joining our show as always, and I want you to take me. Let's start with that Bishop Hartley game and kind of take me through those last couple plays there, because Braden Weaver kind of broke up a catch there at the end that would have tied the game, would have been a touchdown. He broke it up last second, and then one play later, Jacob Householder comes up with an interception at the goal line, seals the game. You guys win, move on. You win 34-27. Now you play Steubenville. But kind of take me through that roller coaster there of what was probably, when those plays were happening, was fear, relief, excitement, joy. Like, take me through that entire roller coaster, that final sequence.
You got an hour? Because
sure.
Those 2 minutes, right? Those 2 minutes felt like an hour. I teach physics, and so theory of general relativity, like the idea that time can stretch and dilate. I was living that Friday night, that's for sure. So yeah, I mean, we punted to them. They had the ball with less than 2 minutes. You got to go back a play before that. Justin Munyon standing with his heels on the goal line, right? And he just uncorks one. Kids making plays. Kids made plays all night long, right? So he just uncorks one. They're all of a sudden backed up to roughly their 40-yard line. Got to go 60 yards. And at that point, I started to feel like, all right, this isn't an offense that's going to go 60 yards on us. But either the first or second play, Perry, their receiver, man, that kid was lightning. He gets in between our 2 DBs, splits 2 of the better kids we have, right, and gets his hands on one. And they're close. Like, they helped distract the catch, but boy, it was close. And then maybe a play or two, I think they threw a short pass and threw like an over the middle and maybe an incomplete. And then they got the one down our sidelines where Ruff is stride for stride, he and then he slips. And then Householder, I believe, was the one there, and he gets turned around with the way the ball's coming. And that kid's got it. I mean, I can see it happening. I'm like, that's catch, right? Like, it's catch. And then Weaver flashes in and makes a play. And, that's the deep middle. You're a cover 3 team. Your safety, we talk about all the time, that, 10 and 12 yards under, you can get hash to hash. Starts going 15 plus, you better get to the numbers. And in that case, he didn't quite make it to the numbers, but like, he was flying out of the middle to make a play. So it was a great play. And then they still, had to come back with another one where House at that time was sitting back there waiting. At that point, it wasn't like we were discouraging anything anymore, because with 25 seconds left, they still could have gotten 3-4 completions. So you have to discourage things, which means they might get behind you. And sure enough, they did. So at that point, with less than 10 seconds left, we're on the 10-yard line.
Right.
Householder was camping underneath of it. Like my dad used to say, the baseball commentators would say it's can of corn. I don't even know what that means, but like, he's camping underneath of it. Like, this one's mine. And I saw it, and I saw him camping, and I'm like, oh my goodness, we got this. So that's when I started to feel pretty good.
I guess how do you keep your teams like so composed? Because obviously, like with every football game, and especially in playoff football, there's always adversity. There's turnovers, and sometimes things don't go your way. Momentum shifts all the time. But when there is a turnover in the game, like you guys had one against Bishop Hartley, how are you able to keep your team so composed where it's always just next play mentality, and you forget what I mean? Obviously, like you got to correct things as you go, but you really just keep a blind eye to the mistakes you make, and you keep moving forward. And like, how do you do it? Because obviously there's tons of adversity in every football game, and you face it against Bishop Hartley, and you came out on top, given turnovers, shifts of momentum, and things like that.
So my dad used to talk about how the huddle, the actual football huddle, was a metaphor for life, right? And so when you have an opportunity as a team to huddle and you look each other in the eyes, and maybe your coaches are fortunate enough to be a part of that when it's a timeout, and you've got 19 seniors and the bulk of them are on the field somewhere at crucial points in the game, and they're looking at each other in the eyes, they know. That doesn't mean that it's automatically guaranteed to win, because Hartley had, 15, 18 seniors, whatever they had. And Stubenville is going to have, I think, 21 seniors or something like that. But there's something about knowing, like, hey, this is a roll of the dice and this is exactly what we wanted, but we're going to play super, super hard, but we're not going to take ourselves out of the equation by like panicking or, over analyzing. We are an aggressive football team. We want to play with a physicality, and sometimes that means, risking things. And so I think they just like been there, done that. The coaches have been there, done that, and we believe in each other. And like my dad always said, that huddle, when you got each other, it's like the shirt said in the Ohio State National Championship, Ohio against the world. Well, Sheridan General's against anybody that we can take on.
Now, this Steubenville team, it's a pretty good one, and they had a tough battle against Indian Valley last week. They went down early, and they were able to battle back, but they really utilized the run game. Didn't work much for them against Indian Valley, but they really utilized the passing game. Their quarterback Aiden Manning had 300 plus, 3 touchdowns. Isaac Hill, like they have some big wide receivers. Isaac Hill is 6'4", 212. He has 7 catches, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. Their other receiver, Sabron Felton, he's 6'2", 190, 5 catches, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. How do you defend wide? Because it's not every day you see wide receivers that big, especially like in our area, MVL. You don't cover receivers that are that big. So how do you plan to cover them this Friday?
Not just that big, but that fast. And I know that's what you're
Right.
alluding to. They're big, physical, but playmakers. Like it looks like the modern college NFL wide receiver. They're terrific football players, but at the same time, the idea of the pass means you have an opportunity to play the ball, right? And so I think that's something that our secondary coach, Josh Coleman, does a terrific job of. And you saw AJ make a play, crucial play in the game against Hartley. Like they're ball hawks. Their eyes are on the ball. They're breaking on the ball. But then at the same time, like that receiver, that 6'4", 210 kid makes a catch. Well, you got to put him on the ground. And that's where what we've done for 40 years is the Red Rage defense. It isn't just going to be one guy. There better be 11 guys flying to the ball, because it's going to take 2, 3, 4 guys to get them down sometimes. You can't give up the big play. One of those big plays I remember, the kid had 180 yards. The 80, 90-yarder was on a busted play of some sort. Quarterback is good at eluding the rush. So we have to stay disciplined. That's something I think that we do fairly well, but it's hard against a quarterback that's that fast and receivers that are that skilled. So cannot give up the big play and then have to tackle well. And they force you to do both. They throw it deep, and then they throw spot routes, just like quick release routes where you got to try to tackle a kid. You're 7 yards off in a back pedal and he gets the ball right now. That's really hard. And so we have to tackle really well, keep our gap assignments, keep them inside of us so that the pursuit can get there and try to control them.
Now, offensively, I'm sure you're going to utilize that option, which you've been so good at all season long. And you mentioned last week when we talked that like styles of offense, some styles of offense that you see nowadays, like if teams run a style of offense that you don't see much of anymore, it's hard to prepare for it. And that's kind of an offense that you have. But how has Caden Sheridan been so good at making those reads with that option play? Because you have to force the defense to make a choice. They either go with the person you hand it off to, they stay with the quarterback, or the person you pitch to. That you got to force them to make a choice. How has Caden been so good at making those decisions, whether to keep it, give it to somebody else? He's racking up the rushing touchdowns right now, and obviously he's going to need to do it again this Friday.
So one, he studies the game, right? Like he fully understands what we're trying to do. He understands what the defense then is going to try to do to stop us. And so it's an if then statement. I mean, that's football at its high levels. If we, then you, and then we have to. And so he understands that. He comes running off the sidelines like, hey, coach, the dive reads this. Hey, coach, the flat defender, the pitch read is this. And so he's got complete command of that. And so, he walks up to the line of scrimmage, and some teams think like a quarterback looks left and he looks right, and it's because he's trying to, I don't know, just make sure everybody's lined up right. But then there's those elite level quarterbacks, and we've been fortunate enough to have some pretty good ones, and Caden's is as good as we've ever had. Like when he looks right, he's like, okay, that guy's shaded. Okay, that guy's at 8 yards. Like he's scanning left to right, like because a lot of our offense is we might have a check on the left, we might have two run plays, and it might be an RPO to the right? So like a early release, a full blown screen, and 2 run plays, check with me, and he's processing all that. So when you talk about how does he do it, well, I don't know because I can't do it. Like the other night, I coach it, right? I remember 2018, Ethan Heller did something. I thought, yeah, I didn't coach that. That has nothing to do with me, right? And there's been several times. That was the first time me as a coach, like I thought, dear goodness, this kid, my offense is holding him back. He's at that level. And Caden is at that level, right? On some level, whatever we draw up, he has the ability to execute. And we are holding him back. The other night, he ran the option and he did this little flip quick pitch. He doesn't even pitch it. He'll just toss it. Totally unorthodox, but the ball's right on the money. And I literally walked up to the official on our sideline. I'm like, that's as pretty as it gets, isn't it? And he just looked at me and he's like, wow, that was a play. Like, so it's just a kid making plays and it's fun to watch.
Well, we could definitely talk for an hour because I definitely want to pick your brain more just about the nuances of football. So I love that a lot. But Coach, I really appreciate you taking the time. I won't take up any more of your time this evening, but best of luck this Friday against Steubenville. A lot of people say this is where the dance starts, a chance to get to the Final Four. This is where football starts. So this is where every team envisions being. Week 1 is a chance to get to be one of those Final Four teams, and from there, anything can happen. But I appreciate your time tonight. Best of luck against Steubenville, man, and go represent the MVL in the Final Four, man.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure talking to you. It's lots of fun.
Caden Sheridan, through the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, 5 rushing touchdowns in round 1 against Morgan, 49-28 win. He had 2 rushing touchdowns in round 2. In their shutout running clock victory against Gallia Academy. 1 rushing touchdown, and then 2 more rushing touchdowns in round 3 against Bishop Hartley in that thrilling 34-27 win. Excellent at running the option is Caden Sheridan. And now I want to take a look briefly at the Division IV playoff bracket. So the winner, well, maybe if I can get it to pull up for you, that would be fantastic if I could get that to happen. Maybe not. But in Division 4, the winner of this matchup is going to take on. Here we go. I think we got it right here. No, we don't. Wow, that's unfortunate. But anyways. The winner of this matchup in Division 4, Region 15, Steubenville Sheridan will take on the winner of Region 16 in number 4 seed Kettering Archbishop Alter and Cincinnati, Wyoming. And then on the other side of the bracket, it's Canton South, and they're the number 1 seed in Region 13, taking on number 6 Struthers, and then number 1 Sandusky Perkins is taking on Cleveland Glenville in Region 14. So Region 13 and Region 14 will play each other in the Final Four, and Steubenville Sheridan, the winner of Region 15, will take on Region 16 in the Final Four. The reason why I just figured out why you can't see the graphic that I was just reading to you is because my camera died here in the car. So that's unfortunate. So you get a good look at the stats there from Caden Sheridan, though. But we'll wrap up this show here. We'll get you ready for this football game here at Woody Hayes Quaker Stadium. Once again, we have 4 teams remaining in these playoffs, everybody. As far as teams that Storied Rivals covers. Sheridan, Garaway in Division 6, Dublin Kaufman in Division 1, as well as Upper Arlington. So Garaway plays West Jefferson. Dublin Kaufman plays Springfield in Division 1 Region 2. And Upper Arlington plays Hilliard Darby in Division 1 Region 3. So 4 teams left for Storied Rivals in the Ohio High School Football Playoffs. But this is what we got tonight. Division 4 Region 15 Regional Championship, the number 1 Steubenville Big Red and the number 2 Sheridan Generals. Chance to move on to the Final Four, man. Super exciting stuff. We really appreciate you joining us all season long for Stadium Drive throughout the regular season and the playoffs. And if one of our 4 teams moves on after tonight, of course we're going to be doing Stadium Drive for the Ohio State Final Four playoffs. So it's going to be fantastic. Make sure you follow us on all the socials. Check out on Twitter highlights and score updates for this game tonight. That's what I'm going to be giving you tonight, are some updates on this game between Steubenville and Sheridan. But I really appreciate you making us part of your Football Friday. Enjoy the game, everyone, and we'll see you next Friday for the State Final Four Stadium Drive Week 15. Take care, everyone. Have a great evening, and happy football.